Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 372 based on novel. So let's start. The moment Wang Lin opened his eyes, the 9-colored fire in his left eye became ethereal and rotated rapidly. It made him look extremely strange. The moment he opened his eyes, ethereal fire erupted from his body. This ethereal fire was heaven-shaking and spread out in all directions. Wang Lin's hair moved without any wind and began to flutter. He withdrew his hand from the first incense stick and looked at his surroundings. Grandmaster Yun Luo was still staring at Wang Lin, and when Wang Lin opened his eyes, she clearly saw his left eye. Her eyes widened, her pupils shrank, and monstrous fear filled his eyes. Her body trembled and she began to retreat. It was as if millions of bolts of thunder had flashed across her mind. She had lost all power in her body and her face was as pale as a dead person's. This gaze. Grandmaster Yun Luo could never forget the image she had just seen. The gaze from the figure that turned around and looked at her at the moment of her death. That blurry figure's left eye had a 9-colored vortex. Master Simo stared at Wang Lin and silently pondered. Dao Master Miao Yin also looked at Wang Lin. There was a strange light in his eyes and he revealed an almost unnoticeable sneer. The old vermilion bird stood up with a laugh, feeling full of relief. However, given everything that had happened, Wang Lin had shocked him once more on top of having 5 essences. The old vermilion bird laughed. You've burned the 9-colored karma fire to ignite the 4th awakening and enter the realm of ethereal fire. Good, good. The old man sitting on the lizard looked at Wang Lin with a different gaze. He had battled the old vermilion bird far too many times and knew how powerful ethereal fire was. Now that Wang Lin had entered the realm of ethereal fire, he couldn't help but pay attention to Wang Lin. The woman behind Dao Master Blue Dream looked silently at Wang Lin. Dao Master Blue Dream saw her expression and let out a sigh in his heart. If only I hadn't erased Yuer's memory and made Wang Lin stay to help his cultivation, instead of just passing him 3 spells, Dao Master Blue Dream felt remorse for the first time for what he had done back then. Wang Lin's gaze swept by everyone and he let out a deep breath. He saw flowing emotions from all of them. If he wanted to, he could turn those emotions into ethereal fire. When Wang Lin's gaze moved on to Grandmaster Yun Luo, she immediately lowered her head and slowly retreated. However, Wang Lin still saw that her emotions were way more intense than everyone else's. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird. Junior was fortunate and has already awakened. The old vermilion bird smiled even more brightly, then he waved his hand and threw the dragon in his hand into the distance. You're free, little dragon, he laughed. The dragon was almost dead as it had lost almost all its blood. When it heard this, its eyes lit up and it let out a roar as it struggled to fly far away. It disappeared into the horizon. The trial is not over. There is someone waiting for in the last heaven incense stick. Go. The old vermilion bird looked meaningfully at Wang Lin. The human incense stick was extinguished and the earth incense stick was split, but the heaven incense stick won't extinguish or break. This incense stick is guarded by the first-generation ancestor himself, and what is tested inside it is potential. The longer you can maintain it, the greater the potential. This old man lasted 12 breaths and the 4th generation lasted 14 breaths. I want to know how long you will last. If you can surprise me again, this old man will gift you the restriction in that silly dragon's body. With it, you can easily find where it escaped to. With the dragon as a guard, this old man will be at ease once you leave here. The old vermilion bird's words entered Wang Lin's mind. No one but him could hear Wang Lin. Wang Lin nodded and looked at where the dragon flew off to. The dragon that had just left the Great Emperor planet was very excited. Free, finally free. Roar. This old dragon is finally free from the claws of the devil. After how many years? Tears appeared in the eyes of the dragon. It didn't know that it had been cheated by the first-generation vermilion bird and was just given away as a gift by the second-generation vermilion bird. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He didn't look at the crowd again but looked at the heaven incense stick. After pondering for a moment, he took a deep breath and pressed his hand on the heaven incense stick. First generation vermilion bird ancestor. The ancestor of the vermilion bird clan. One of the 4 great generals under the ancient celestial sovereign. Such a person probably knows many secrets. If the vermilion bird clan is in the ancient star system, why does the fire sparrow clan exist? Since the vermilion bird clan has lasted until today, I presume the azure dragon, black tortoise, and white tiger clans are also alive. Where are they? The ancient celestial sovereign, is it the same person as the ancient celestial emperor, the lord of the sealed realm mentioned? If not, then what is their relationship? While Wang Lin pondered, he closed his eyes. The heaven trial was completely different from the other 2 trials. This was a world filled with white clouds, and there was only one other thing beside cloud. It was a giant statue. It was extremely large and covered a portion of the world. It was an old man that looked like a vermilion bird. His nose was like a beak, and there were even vermilion bird wings on his back. His eyes were closed, and there was a 9-colored fire burning between his eyebrows. The right hand of the statue reached out and its palm opened. Wang Lin's figure was shrouded by a flash of light, and he appeared inside the palm. In the ancient star system, within a calm star domain, ripples echoed. These ripples were like waves, and they slowly spread in all directions. Shortly after, a ray of ghostly light flashed by. Before the ghostly light passed by, there was an abandoned planet here. There were no living beings on this planet, and it had no spiritual energy. It was considered a wasted planet. If any cultivators approached it, they wouldn't even take a look. However, this abandoned planet was in the ray of the ghostly light. When the light passed, the planet disintegrated, leaving only the ripples that slowly spread. However, at this moment, a 100-foot crack appeared in the center of the ripples. Endless death aura came from inside the crack, causing the crack to become bigger and bigger. Through the crack, one could see another world inside, and it was filled with countless floating rocks. On these rocks lay huge heads. Some ancient gods, some ancient demons, and some ancient devils. The crack extended to 1,000 feet before it stopped expanding. It was like a large mouth waiting for food to arrive. Its appearance would set off a storm in the ancient star system, shocking countless cultivators. The ancient order tomb opens. Inside the heaven trial, Wang Lin stared at the giant statue and his eyes lit up. This statue was too strange, and no matter how Wang Lin looked at it, it didn't look like a person. Instead, it looked like it was formed from a vermilion bird. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin clasped his hands at the statue and bowed before it. He said, "Junior 6th generation vermilion bird greets the ancestor." As he spoke, the 9-colored fire between the statue's eyebrows roared violently and shot into the sky. Light emitted from the statue's closed eyes. "To awaken 4 times without a strong bloodline, you're very good," a mighty buzzing voice echoed. Junior, Wang Lin's expression was calm and he was about to speak. "You can ask your questions in the trial. I'm seriously injured and my divine sense won't be awake for long. For every 5 breaths you last, you can ask 1 question." There was no emotion in that buzzing voice when it interrupted Wang Lin. As his voice echoed, fire began to roar on the hand Wang Lin was standing on. This fire rapidly changed between corporeal fire and ethereal fire. Every 9 transformations, the power of the fire would increase. This fire isn't ethereal fire, but my mind fire. In the past, it was known as the vermilion bird endless flame. When Wang Lin was experiencing the trial, an ancient aura came from the ancient order tomb, extending out of the 1,000-foot spatial crack. This ancient aura merged with the ancient star system and began pulling in tiny, almost invisible dust particles toward it. More and more dust particles gathered until they formed a storm around the spatial crack. From a distance, it looked like a spinning nebula. This storm became larger and larger until it shook the entire star domain. A terrifying force came out of the storm, destroying everything around it. Many abandoned planets nearby were pulled in by the suction force. They were quickly torn apart inside the storm and became part of it. There were 19 cultivation planets lined up in a line in the northern part of the ancient star system. The 10th planet at the center looked like it was all ocean, like a planet of water. There was a cultivator sitting at the bottom of the ocean under the endless water. He looked very old and his hair was white. Every time he breathed, the ocean would roar and waves would be sent out in all directions. The moment the ancient order tomb opened and the storm formed, the old man opened his eyes. His eyes were deep, as if they were the ocean itself. Something's wrong. The old man's eyes lit up. After pondering for a bit, there was a hint of hesitation in them. It is impossible to do anything about the heaven-defying bead on the great Emperor planet, so I'll deal with it later. Avatar, quickly come back and check out that storm, see what it is. This old man was one of the 5 masters, the original body of Tao Master Miao Yin. The young man on the great Emperor planet was just one of his 3 main avatars. At the same time, outside the fallen land, a giant, oval-shaped beast the size of a cultivation planet was slowly closing in. The old man sitting on its back with the yin and yang face tattoo had his eyes closed, but he suddenly opened them and looked into the distance with a strange light in his eyes. Before he finished muttering to himself, the moongazer under him suddenly trembled and looked into the distance. There was flashes of fear and excitement in its eyes as it opened its mouth to let out a heaven-shattering roar. The old man with the yin and yang face tattoo hesitated for a bit before changing directions and steering the moongazer to head toward the location of the ancient order tomb. On the great Emperor planet, everyone was looking at the heaven incense stick when the young man's expression suddenly changed. Without hesitation, he clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird and smiled. "Friends, I have another matter to attend to, so I won't keep watching the ceremony. Goodbye." With that, he turned around and took a step. His body turned into specks of light and he disappeared. This sudden change shocked everyone, and the expressions of all the third step cultivators changed. Tao Master Blue Dream's eyes narrowed and he looked up. After pondering a bit, he clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird and said, "This matter is strange, I need to go check it out." After he finished speaking, he looked at Li Qianmai and let out a sigh. He waved his sleeve and blue light surrounded the 2 of them before they disappeared. There was also the old man sitting on the lizard, his eyes also revealed a strange light. His mouth, which was sealed by a needle, twitched, then he clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird but didn't speak. His right hand hit the lizard and it flew off with a hiss. Grandmaster Yun Luo and Master Simo looked at each other. She clasped her hands and was about to speak when smoke suddenly came from the heaven incense stick. The heaven incense stick has ignited. He has ignited the last incense stick so quickly. I wonder how many breaths this 3rd young emperor can last. Can he surpass the 2nd young emperor? The surrounding cultivators' gazes suddenly gathered on the heaven incense stick. Even Grandmaster Yun Luo, who was about to leave, looked at it. The heaven incense stick began burning. And the smoke it started emitting was monstrous. It was like a torch giving off waves of heat, and it rapidly burned down. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. In the heaven trial, Wang Lin was sitting in the palm and 9-colored fire was burning around him. From away it looked like the palm was holding a ball of fire. The moment the fire appeared, it contained a terrifying, destructive force. 3 breaths passed by instantly, but the fire made Wang Lin feel an indescribable sense of heat. He even had the feeling that he was inside a furnace and was being refined by someone. The feeling became even more intense and the fire continued to surge. After almost every breath, the fire would transform 9 times, so every breath would cause the power of the fire to increase greatly. 3 breaths, just 3 breaths had already made Wang Lin feel like he was going to collapse. What kind of trial was this? This fire was trying to refine his soul. Wang Lin could clearly feel that if not for the fact that his vermilion bird had had its 4th awakening and ethereal fire had appeared in his body, his soul would have been burnt to nothing after 3 breaths. On the great Emperor planet, his body began to tremble and large beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. However, the moment it appeared, the sweat turned into fog. His body was like a piece of hot iron that was going to be destroyed by the heat inside him. Inside the heaven trial, Wang Lin's face was pale. His expression was no longer respectful, it had become ferocious. He let out a roar as his hand formed a seal and 9-colored fire rushed out of his left eye. Then the 9-colored fire surged out from his body. He was using fire to resist the fire. Thunderous rumbles echoed inside the giant palm. 4 breaths, 5 breaths. On the Great Emperor planet, the cultivators were staring at Wang Lin's body. At this moment, his body was surrounding by a mist formed from his own sweat. At the 5th breath, the mist collapsed. The burning from the heaven incense stick paused for a moment after having already burned half the incense stick. After Wang Lin lasted for 5 breaths, he immediately roared, "The Vermilion Bird clan is in the ancient star system, so why does the Fire Sparrow clan exist? The traitorous 3rd Vermilion Bird was created by the enemy. He stole my treasures and escaped to create the Fire Sparrow clan. I'm sealed here, so I couldn't clean house. Also, the existence of the Fire Sparrow clan is good for me," the buzzing voice answered simply and then fell silent once more. The fire around Wang Lin increased. The fire from the ancestor turned into a firestorm. Wang Lin was rushed by the storm, and the 9-colored fire around him collapsed. Intense pain washed over him as he coughed out a mouthful of soul energy. His face immediately became deathly pale. The injury in his soul reached his body. On the Great Emperor planet, his body trembled and blood came out of the corner of his mouth. However, before it could drip to the ground, it was burned to ashes and dissipated into black smoke. After witnessing this scene, the old Vermilion Bird's eyes became serious and his expression became extremely gloomy. Could the first-generation ancestor have lost it so use the Vermilion Bird Endless Flame for the trial? The purpose of the heaven trial should be to give him a great fortune. What is the meaning of his behavior? Master Simo's eyes lit up and revealed a hint of surprise. He couldn't help but look at Grandmaster Yun Luo. She bit her lower lip and narrowed her eyes. She wanted to divinate, but when she recalled Wang Lin's gaze, her mind trembled and she didn't dare to try. 6th breath, 7th breath, 8th breath. Under the heaven incense stick, blood flowed out from Wang Lin's mouth and his skin wrinkled, becoming dry, even his blood started boiling. It was as if his blood was going to evaporate from the heat coming from his soul. Wang Lin's souls inside the heaven trial clenched his teeth and his face became twisted. The fire from the first-generation Vermilion Bird was no longer 9-colored but chaotic. The temperature inside had reached Wang Lin's limit. Under this intense heat, the pain was like the ocean waves. It was several times more intense than the human trial and the earth trial. This is a trial. Wang Lin suddenly looked up and stared viciously at the statue of the first-generation Vermilion Bird. There was anger in his eyes and the thunder tattoo appeared in his right eye. Thunder suddenly rumbled across the world and endless thunder appeared in the heaven trial. Endless thunder gathered toward his right eye and the thunder tattoo appeared around his body. The moment the thunder tattoo appeared, and thanks to the thunder around Wang Lin, it allowed him to pass the 9th and 10th breath. After 10 breaths passed, the thunder tattoo around Wang Lin shined brightly, and it included the fire of his 4th awakening Vermilion Bird. What is the relationship between the ancient celestial sovereign and the ancient celestial emperor? In your world you call him the ancient celestial emperor. In my time he was called the ancient celestial sovereign, the first-generation Vermilion Bird slowly answered. There was no emotion in his words. However, the moment he finished speaking, the fire from the palm Wang Lin was increased once more. The fire quickly turned into a giant Vermilion Bird. This Vermilion Bird was very old and seemed to have lived for countless years. It let out a grim cry as it charged toward Wang Lin. 11th breath. Wang Lin's eyes revealed madness. The thunder tattoo that contained fire suddenly expanded. As the Vermilion Bird closed in, Wang Lin suddenly stood up and pushed up. In an instant, the ancient Vermilion Bird collided with the thunder tattoo and a thunderous roar echoed across the world. A powerful shockwave spread in all directions. Wang Lin's body trembled violently and half of his soul exploded and dissipated. His body on the Great Emperor planet shook violently. His body coughed out blood and was teetering. His face was ashen and large amounts of blood fog came out of his body. Large amounts of his blood was being evaporated. This scene shocked all the surrounding cultivators. The old Vermilion Bird's pupils shrank as he let out a roar and arrived next to the heaven incense stick. His divine sense rushed out toward the heaven trial. The moment his divine sense entered, his voice roared inside the heaven trial. Ancestor, what is the meaning of this? Could he not be a member of my Vermilion Bird clan? Could he have been created by someone else? You, leave. The buzzing voice rumbled and formed an invisible force that landed on the old vermilion bird's divine sense, forcing him out of the heaven trial. I have my own plan. 12th breath. The thunder tattoo collapsed and turned into countless fragments that returned to Wang Lin's eye. The fire from the old vermilion bird collapsed and he was knocked back a few hundred feet. Wang Lin waved his right hand and a rift to his storage space appeared. There was a flash of bloodlight and the blood sword appeared. Wang Lin pointed ferociously at the sky and the blood sword chased after the vermilion bird. At this instant, after the blood sword shot out, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal. He pointed at the sky and shouted, "In the name of my heavenly thunder, condense the endless thunder of heaven to open the ancient thunder realm." 13th breath. His voice became louder and louder until it was heaven-shattering. The moment he spoke, Wang Lin waved his hand at the void before him. The world rumbled and began to twist. A giant spatial rift 10,000 feet long opened. Endless roars echoed from the rift and several ancient thunder dragons' giant bodies could be seen moving within. Open the ancient thunder realm, this was the spell of the Scatter Thunder Clan's head elder. However, after soul-searching the head elder, and thanks to his thunder essence, Wang Lin could also use this extremely powerful thunder spell. The thunder dragons let out angry roars and were coming out of the spatial rift. However, just at this moment, the voice of the first-generation vermilion bird echoed. "Vermilion bird seal, seal." As the indifferent voice echoed, the ancient vermilion bird let out a hiss and charged at the 10,000-foot rift. There was a surge of fire and it imprinted on the 10,000-foot rift. The vermilion bird turned into a giant seal and sealed the rift to the ancient thunder realm. The ancient thunder dragons struggled inside to break out, but no matter how much they tried, they couldn't break the vermilion bird seal. 14th breath. Wang Lin's body trembled and he waved his hand without hesitation. The blood sword in the sky changed directions and charged at the huge statue. At this instant, the huge statue's closed eyes suddenly opened. The pair of eyes was devoid of any emotion. The moment the eyes opened, the blood sword was surrounded by an invisible force. It was frozen just outside the eyebrows of the statue and couldn't move forward. "This sword is in your hand." For the first time, shock appeared in the voice of the first-generation vermilion bird. On the Great Emperor planet, the old vermilion bird's expression was gloomy and his right hand bounced off the incense stick. He took a few steps back and looked at Wang Lin with a complicated expression. He had no idea why the ancestor was doing this. 14 breaths. The third young emperor also reached 14 breaths. 14 breaths is his limit. You can see that his flesh is almost destroyed and almost all of his blood is about to evaporate. Master Simo narrowed his eyes. With his cultivation level, he naturally saw the old vermilion bird's gloomy expression. He sneered in his heart. "It looks like another accident has happened. This little bastard has gone through a lot of ups and downs in this trial. It is best he dies in this trial and save me some trouble." The heaven incense stick violently and quickly burned down. There was only a few dozen feet left. In the heaven trial, after the 15th breath passed, the palm under Wang Lin trembled and began to move. The palm formed a fist as the fire roared. Wang Lin didn't even have a chance to ask the third question before the pressure from the 5 fingers descended. A mysterious force descended, making it so Wang Lin couldn't escape. Seeing the 5 fingers descend, Wang Lin let out a roar and popping sounds came from his body. The 5 fingers pressed down on his arms. He felt as if his entire body was going to disintegrate. Wang Lin had a ferocious expression and let out a roar. The lower half of his body collapsed under this powerful force. 16th breath. 17th breath. 18th breath. Wang Lin's body continued to collapse. He could not see the sky anymore as the 5 fingers covered the sky. When Wang Lin reached 19 breaths, the hand clenched. However, just as the hand clenched, a vermilion bird cry came from the fist along with ethereal fire. Wang Lin's soul turned into a vermilion bird. The eyes of the first-generation vermilion bird revealed a strange light. He looked at his own fist, and his gaze seemed to penetrate it as he watched Wang Lin's struggling vermilion bird soul. The 9-colored fire between his eyebrows flashed and ethereal fire shot out toward his fist. This ethereal fire was invisible, but when it entered his fist, his entire palm was shrouded in fire. I can decide whether you live or die with just a thought. But you still won't tell me the truth, even now. I saw through your secret when you were at the Armored Dragon clan. I only let you live because I want to know your true identity. I arranged for you to become the young emperor to draw you here. I arranged for the second generation to appear to lead you to this trial. Now that you are finally here, tell me, who are you? Why are you impersonating a member of my Vermilion Bird clan? The juniors might not see through your secret, but you can't hide anything from me. Right after he spoke, a monstrous fire appeared in the eyes of the first-generation Vermilion Bird as he stared at the struggling Wang Lin and carefully observed Wang Lin's expression. After hearing this, Wang Lin was startled for a moment while struggling and let out an angry laugh. Since you won't tell me the truth, then this Vermilion Bird will grant you death. The first-generation Vermilion Bird's eyes revealed a strange light as he stared at Wang Lin inside his fist. After he spoke, his ethereal fire rushed toward the center of his fist and entered Wang Lin's Vermilion Bird. The moment the ethereal fire entered Wang Lin's Vermilion Bird, he clearly saw images flash by. These images included the fifth-generation Vermilion Bird leaving the Vermilion Bird mark on Wang Lin. He saw Wang Lin's first awakening, second awakening, third awakening. The first-generation Vermilion Bird didn't just look through the memories once, but over and over again, carefully examining them thousands of times. Finally, he let out a deep breath and the mysterious light in his eyes disappeared, revealing a rarely seen trace of kindness. This fist also slowly loosened. Can you still hold on? His voice was no longer cold, it now contained a hint of admiration. Wang Lin's Vermilion Bird silently stared at the first-generation ancestor. Before, it was because I was wrong about one person and thought of him as one of my own that I ended up like this. I can't even take half a step out of the heaven trial. You suddenly appeared, and although all your characteristics line up with my clan, this old man must be cautious. I hope you understand. Wang Lin silently pondered as the Vermilion Bird he had formed slowly dissipated. He returned to his human form and slowly said, "The third-generation Vermilion Bird?" "That's right. I couldn't find a single flaw after searching his soul. No matter how much I observed, I couldn't find a single clue. It wasn't until the end that I found out that he was created by someone else. There was hatred in the words of the first-generation Vermilion Bird. In the absence of incense stick, you already have 5 essences. Although these 5 essences have just formed, this phenomenon is rare. However, your path is wrong," the first-generation Vermilion Bird slowly said. "Your thunder essence formed the void gate, but you couldn't open it. You think you're not strong enough, that's right and wrong. You think you should wait for your fire essence to be completed before trying to open the void gate again. In your heart, you don't even value the 5 heavens blights. You don't want to go through the 5 heavens blights, you want to directly break the void gate at the peak of the Nirvana Shatterer stage. If you think you can do it, you're wrong." Wang Lin was startled but remained silent. The first-generation Vermilion Bird let out a sigh and slowly closed his eyes. His voice echoed in the world. "Do you know why humans have 5 fingers in each hand? In my time, there was also the 5 heavens blights, only it was called the 5 void-shattering fingers. Cultivation. In truth, you and I are only cultivating a hand. The first step is the palm and the second step is the palm print. The palm print is law, and everyone's palm prints are different, so their laws are also different. The 5 void-shattering fingers or the 5 heavens blights are the finger on your palm. If you want to cover the sky with your hand, you must have all 5 fingers. If you understand it, you understand it. If not, there will be no chance for you to break the void. This video will end here.